listening to the podcast To Be Single or Not to Be by Shanna Montana, a podcast where we talk about the single life, dating, and relationships so you can make a decision at the end of each episode and decide to be single or not to be. That is the final question.
Today's topic is leaving will hurt and you will be okay. Leaving is not losing. And I wanted to bring this topic to the listeners because I think it's a conversation that is long overdue. I clearly understand that everyone has their own bottom line that determines when they will exit a relationship. However, many times we will see people stay in relationships that they no longer want to be in or should not be in. And what's keeping them there is fear of the unknown, a fear of what's to come next, a feeling that life will never be the same after that partner. And I just want everyone to know that it will. It absolutely will. I am proof that it will. You can leave and you will eventually be okay. Now, we will not pretend that the grief that comes with breakups is not sometimes very painful. However, I'm here to tell you that no matter what, no matter how massive the pain may seem at times, you are going to get through it and you will always be okay. So that said, before we get started, we have two amazing guests on the show today that I'm going to let just introduce themselves. So at first we have Sierra. Tell the people who you are.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sierra Hilsman. I'm a licensed professional counselor, certified clinical trauma professional. I love all things mental health, and I'm the founder of Legacy Speaks, which destigmatizes mental health concerns within communities of color.
Wonderful. And we definitely need you here for this conversation because I know it taps into all of that. Up next, we have a guest that you all have heard last season, and we are so glad to have her back. We have Mikesha. Tell the people who you are.
Hi, I'm Mikey. I'm a healthcare provider, neonatal pediatric patient population for like 12 years now. Also work within my community where there are food disparities, feeding people in the city of Chicago, and also moms. I also am a mother myself, so of two.
Awesome. You're 12 years. It's been that long.
Yeah, girl.
I'm glad when you're having fun.
Saving lives.
Lives when you're saving lives. There you go. All right. So we are going to get right into this conversation because, like I said, it is long overdue. So, ladies, I was recently listening to an interview on YouTube, and I heard a young lady say that she did not want to leave her relationship, although she knew it was over for a lot of reasons due to not wanting to go through the pain that comes with the grieving process. She said that, like, anytime she thought about leaving, she started to get like actual physical pain, and it was too much. So that brought me to the question, and like I think that's what sparked me wanting to do this episode. We know that most times any physical pain that we encounter is temporary. No matter what it is, it's temporary. No matter how painful it is, it's temporary. So why do you all think people would rather stay in a relationship that they know has ended for whatever reason and it's causing them ongoing pain instead of leaving to go through the temporary pain and on the other side of that, find happiness? Why do people do that?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is the normalization of chaos. Yeah. So when a toxic relationship has been your norm for months or maybe even years, the idea of something new, the idea of something different that creates like this fear of uncertainty that you were talking about earlier. And so at the core of it, it's recognizing that there's so much more on the other side of that thing, but having the courage to see and believe that there is more on the other side of that thing. But when that pain and that trauma has been your normal routine, it's difficult to see anything other than that.
Mikey, yeah. I'm about to dive into that some more. Go ahead.
I agree. I think it comes down, it made me think about the episode that I was on before about attachment styles. Mm-hmm. I think that people get attached to just it starts from childhood, right? Like the way you attach. So I think they just get attached to the idea of something actually working out or supposed to work out. And also, it has a lot to do with, and so many other things like shame and guilt and all of these other things that people go through when they don't want to detach from a situation. But I think it has a lot to do with that.
Boy, that shame is a lot because it stands out to me out of what you just said, because I know that I think personally I've been in situations and I've seen people in situations, but I just speak for myself that, say I was in a relationship and, you get in a relationship and everybody's, all excited in the beginning and they thinking like, oh, this is the one. And then at some point you find out that ain't the one. And then you're like, I don't really want to tell them because, it's almost like a disappointment. Like, how do we get to that space? Like, is that rooted in childhood too? Like, where does that come from?
I would think it's the discomfort of having those conversations. So you have individuals who typically use maladaptive coping mechanisms like avoidance and denial, right? So anything that is uncomfortable for them, whether it's emotionally, mentally, finding ways to divert or kind of push it off to the side or to slap toxic positivity on top of it, pretending like everything is A-okay. Yeah. So I think those are some of the ways that people tend to navigate that or avoid having those conversations when it comes to relationships, especially when we're at like a dead end or a plateau.
Do you think part of that also comes from some of the expectations? I guess this may be on a very basic level. Some of the expectations that like our parents set on us, because I think, with me being in the 35 plus club, I get asked more often than I would like, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? When are you going to do all these things, as if nothing else I've done in life is as great as those things. And of course, I think, being a wife is a great thing. Being a mom is a great thing. But, I think that even if I choose to do neither one, I think, I did some other okay stuff.
Right. You did some great things. You've done great things. Yeah. We're sitting here watching it now.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for highlighting that too, because when you said that, I thought about how people look at time as an enemy rather than a friend, right? And so when we find ourselves staying in these relationships, we're like, oh, I put so much time and effort and energy into this person. I just don't want to get rid of that. Maybe this person will change over time. And I remember Essence had put out this article probably like years ago when it talked about how Black women have a tendency of being in relationships based upon potentiality rather than like the facts in general. So thank you for speaking to that.
Yeah, the potentiality. I've been there. So I'll lean to you first, Mikey. Have you ever personally done this? Like, have you ever stayed in a situation after you knew, as the old folks say, the three?
Oh, absolutely. Multiple times. So, I think just coming off of what we were just talking about, the time aspect, I remember being in a relationship thinking, oh my God, I put my whole 20s into this. And hey, looking back in my mid 30s, I'm like, really? Your whole 20s, girl, move on. And it's just like, you feel like I felt like I'd lost a big chunk of my life. And it's just like the social norm of it. I was supposed to do this and I was supposed to have this by now. And if I leave, am I going to have children? Because I'll be almost 30. And, it's just like, it's the social, norms that are put on us and the conditioning, especially, especially just that in that age group, like 20s, early 30s, it's just such a race to, against time. Yeah. And yeah, I have mainly for the time. And also in other relationships, it was based on hoping that what this person is showing me is not real. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're going through something and maybe I can see them through it. I don't want to just leave because, maybe it's just a moment right now for them. But, we know that what people are showing us is the truth. And I think that was a big part of it for me as well. And I will mention shame. having children and, like breaking up a family,
Yeah.
Being the one to leave has always made me feel like guilt and shame.
Yeah. And what helped you kind of navigate that to come through it and get to the space of where you are? I really like the courage to say, like, despite the guilt, the shame, the time, I gotta go.
Yeah. I think it was just knowing what was best for me. I knew how I felt, just being able to tap into me, no matter what someone else is going through, no matter how they're adjusting to new life or new parenthood or whatever. I know how it was making me feel. And at the end of the day, I have to be solid. I have to be okay. And it wasn't making me feel okay. I fought myself many times based on that, because I do have abandonment issues based on, my parents and my mother, really. And, I was like, I don't want to tap into this. I don't want this to be that. Yeah. And I don't want to be, and it becomes this big thing. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not cool. I'm not okay with this. This is not a relationship that's making me better or feel good at the very least. Mm-hmm. So, when you know who you are, you got to get up out of there. You know who you are. And if you know who you are, you got to do what's best for you.
And that's the part of knowing who you are, because prior to, I've started recording this season, so I recorded a few episodes, and we talked a lot about pretty much just that, like knowing who you are, because we make a lot of excuses and reasons, and there are very valid things as to why we may stay. But then there are also other things that are like, that's fluff, we got to get out of here. But one thing that I've been saying, and I want to continue to say, is I think for me, in knowing who I am, it came to where I put myself in this space of like, there is nothing that can minimize me, make me shrink, or come before my peace, my happiness, my joy, and my value. I was like, so many times, I have somebody that's, bringing my vibration lower, and I'm like, what you said, maybe they don't, maybe this,
right?
And it's like, no one's gonna know.
Yes, especially now, it's like a culture of leave if this ain't happening, leave if that ain't happening, cancel him, girl. It's a culture right now, especially on the internet. It's very big about leave, and it's just like, we're all humans, and we're all, maybe he's just fucking figuring it out.
Yeah. We won't go to it. But I'm like, he can't be figuring it out for 6 years. Like, so
no.
I cannot sit in it. But what people didn't understand, I feel like, and people probably tired of me saying this, but I don't care. I'm going to say it till y'all get it. That for me, that whole tapping into my self-love, and I heard that a whole lot in my life, like, you got to love yourself first. And I was like, what does that mean? And then I got to a space where it say, like a person that's addicted to something, until they hit rock bottom, that addiction is not going to stop. So it took for me to hit literally my own rock bottom to be like, guess what? I have to know that I'm going to come first, no matter what is going on. I can't let his potential get ahead of me. I can't let this time. I can't let how good he looks. I can't let what I thought the wedding was going. No, it's no exceptions to the rule. Like, I got to come first. And if you are deducting from all the things that make me happy, I cannot sit in this space no more. And it was not until I got to that space where I realized, like, this is what self-love really is, because
right.
It's not the getting your hair done, getting your nails done, all that. That's pampering, that's self-care to some extent, but that's not the self-love. So I wanted to go back to this too, Sierra, because you made a great point when you said time. People look at time as the enemy and not a friend. How can people look at time as a friend?
Yeah. So one, looking back at the things that you've accomplished over time, also looking at the fact that time is endless, right? So stop comparing yourself or putting yourself on this like linear model of like, oh, I need to have kids by a certain time. I need to have a certain job by a certain time, or I need to have X, Y, and Z by a certain time. Recognizing that you have so many more months, years ahead of you, rather than limiting yourself. Just looking at yourself like as an endless possibility. I think that that's very important, because when we use time as an enemy, we start having all these regrets, or I should have done this with my time, or maybe if I would have done, or maybe if I would have had better choices back then, I would be so much farther along. But understanding that, you're right where you're supposed to be. Yeah. And if it was any different, then okay, it would have happened. But learning to appreciate being in the here and now and leveraging those lessons that you have gained from those past experiences, rather than beating yourself up for the things that you weren't able to accomplish back then.
I love that. Because it goes back to, I always say, like, between, I ain't going to say the years because they don't know who I'm talking about, but there is a certain time frame. I was dating the same person over and over. I kept picking the same man with a different face, thinking like that was the definition of insanity, what I was doing. And so I think everybody, it definitely has to, and a part of it, I brought that up now that I think about it, because of the time aspect, because I definitely had attached, like, I'm getting to be this age, I need to be doing these things. This is what society is doing. This is everybody around me is doing it. Why am I behind? Mm-hmm. And again, that's why the importance of knowing who you are and what you're exactly where you're supposed to be is so important, because right now I have friends, family that are married, that have kids, that have all these things. But I also know people that are going through divorces, that are struggling with, maybe, have went through child loss. It's on both sides of the coin. So it's like, I got to live my life for me and just embrace what's happening right now. So I'm going to lean to y'all and ask this question, and whoever wants to go first can go. What would you say, what is the hardest part about leaving a relationship? What would y'all say the hardest thing is?
For me, I know immediately is, the things you talk about. It's like, we plan to do this. We plan to do that. Mm-hmm. We're working on this together. The projects you work on together, the things that you speak about. Like you said, you imagine the weddings and stuff, we talk about, all types of things, and not really being able to harvest those things is like, damn. They had gone to Antigua next year.
I'm going.
Gonna take the kid. Yeah, all right. I have to figure it out and go by myself. Like, it's really hard for me to think about the things that I plan with somebody, especially if it ends on a note where I still like the person, or still love the person. Yeah. It's, wow, I really wanted to see that through. I wanted to harvest those things. But, if I've been in some situations where I did not like the person, I was just like, I'm out of here, man.
Yes, that's the experience. Peace, like Pam.
Throw a peace sign.
I ain't got nobody. I'm looking behind, like, yourself around. See, right. Yourself.
I think for me, it would be like the loss of a friend. Like that is the worst part, because this individual becomes like your confidant. You share like your deepest, intimate parts of yourself. You have conversations, not about like goals and dreams and aspirations, but like this person truly is your friend. I think especially as like a Black woman, we crave intimacy, not just from a physical aspect, but the ability to just lay our burdens with the person and be our full authentic self. Yeah. And when that relationship ends, it's just like, who do I turn to now to share those aspects of myself? Yeah. I think that's the hardest part for me.
I wish. My problem was I never let them niggas become my friend. I just jump right in.
Exactly.
What you about to do? My girlfriend. In all seriousness, going to this, I think that a lot of times also, like we talked about, it's a lot of issues that may stem from childhood as to why we struggle to leave situations, whether it be abandonment issues, mother wounds, father wounds, whatever it may be. But for listeners, I know that do have children, I think about this. What do you guys think that mothers can teach their daughters about relationships? that will help them knowing how to navigate and when it's time to go. And I bring that up because I always say, for me, growing up, you know, in the South with my family, as a child or a teenager or however, I was never taught really anything about relationships. The only thing we were preached was don't have sex, don't get pregnant. That was it. And nobody ever sat down and said that you can navigate relationships are a good thing. This is how you navigate them. These are the things that these men gonna do. This is what you do when they do it. You know, this is how you show up in these spaces. Like, nobody ever taught me personally. And I feel like we are generation one that we are breaking curses and making changes that have never been done before, things that our parents like still can't even comprehend, but we are navigating in 100% like a different space. And I know that I have listeners that are in the category that have younger children. So that's why I asked this, what do we think mothers can teach their daughters about relationships that would just help them navigate and know how, when you know better, you do better?
I think for me, the number one thing is to acknowledge your feelings. Because depending on how you were raised, especially as like a person of color, we struggle with identifying how we actually feel. I think oftentimes we only revert to like mad, happy, and sad, but like our emotions are more complex, and it's okay to live in the both and. It's okay to be excited about this relationship, but also like anxious because of the unknown. It's okay to feel frustrated because this person is really pissing you off, but you can still be happy about the joy that they bring to your life. So learning to navigate those emotions and not be fully consumed by them. And then also finding a way to find a common ground between your emotions and your logic. And we like to call this as like the wise mind. So as you are identifying your emotions, not making decisions based on your emotions, but using the data from logic to make sound decisions. That way you can become more confident in your decision making when it comes to your relationships. And I think another thing too is identifying your needs, doing like a quick needs assessment. What do you need at this age from a relationship, or what do you need at this age from a partner? If you're like a teenager, you're probably going to need some emotional support, especially as you guys are studying and preparing for college or whatever the case may be. Or maybe as a young adult, finding that level of like personal security, that emotional safety. So as a child or teen or a young adult, what do you need in a partner? And what do you need from yourself as you're in this relationship as well? Because boundaries are important. Boundaries for not only other people, but boundaries for yourself. Because when you're able to reinforce boundaries with yourself, it teaches people how to treat you and vice versa.
I love that. Love all those. Love those. So what would you say?
I definitely agree with that. As a mom with a daughter, I would say I'm hyper. In my relationships, I've been hyper aware of what she's watching, how she sees things. My daughter is 6, and she is someone who absorbs everything, as most, small children do. But for me, I think it's important to know who your child is. And she's very emotional. She's very sensitive. I'm airing her business out. She absorbs everything. And so it's always on my mind. My first thing is to discuss it with her, So it's like, the last situation that I left, it was very apparent to her. She was very, she was very like aware of me and how I was feeling and how things were happening. And when I left, I explained to her fully like what happened and why it had to happen. And it came down to no one is supposed to treat you like that. No one is supposed to talk to you like that. And if someone does, you do exactly what I'm doing. You get the hell up out of there.
Right.
And I mean, that's as simple as it is for me with her, just having conversations and letting her know like fully like what's happening and not keeping her in the dark, she sees it. So, I want to, whatever questions I asked, do you have any questions? She's like, no. I'm like, if you ever have any questions about it, let me know.
Yes,
and we have a conversation about it. And I think moving forward, I think sometimes people think, oh, they're kids, they're not, whatever. But this really is the time. It's not like they're, teenagers or young adults where they're kind of like, I don't care about your life right now.
Yeah.
She's fully invested and fully aware. Yeah. And I just make a point to like bring her in on everything.
I love that. Yeah. I love it because this generation is changing the game, doing things that have never been done before. We don't play that because I said so. You don't get in grown folks' business. Well, she stood there and watched us have a full argument.
Yeah.
We put her in our business by doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A whole human being. I call my nieces, I have some in their 20s, and I call them like the little people because I always say the little humans. And I'm like, the little humans have a right to know what's going on as well.
Right.
Out there, they are engaged in it. And something that stood out to me, I heard, I saw it on social media. I don't know who said it. We absorb so much from that. But this girl said, I'm just trying to raise a child that does not have to recover from her childhood for some shit I did to her. Yeah. And I think that stood out to me. And we do our best and hope that it goes that way. But I just love the talking to her. Like, just talk to kids because I'll say in my family, my like I said, I have nieces that are in their 20s, but I talk to them all the time. And I talk to them very black and white, very plain about what's going on, even if it's a situation they may be dealing with a parent. And they're older. But I'm like, I want to hear you out. I have empathy. I understand what's going on, and it has to be present. So I just love the fact that she's 6 years old and you're able to communicate with her. And I know if Ziggy got something to say, she's going to tell you. So. Yeah, she
had a question that I never even thought she would think of. And I'm like, wow, she is brilliant. Her mom feel that way. But I'm just like, the question she had, you can tell she thought about this before. And had I not brought it to her attention or had this conversation with her, and she may have, who knows, it may have rested in a different way with her. And I will say, I make a point for myself not to allow my children to see me in struggle mode. Like, we go on vacations, we are happy. I don't want them to think that, oh, this is happening, so mommy's sad, or, this is like, something that set us back in life. Yeah. I want them to know, like, it's okay. We make these decisions, your life is just what it is based on all the decisions you've made. We make these decisions and we adapt and we flow and we process and we get through it. Yeah.
I absolutely love that because I know for many of us, we grew up in homes where it's just like a child is supposed to be seen and not heard. And so changing that structure, that dynamic, and incorporating kids in conversations that are age appropriate is very important. Because like you mentioned, kids, they process things from a different perspective, and it's best for them to find out how to navigate these things from their parents instead of going on YouTube or going on social media or TikTok nowadays. Like, this generation is so different because they literally have the information in their hands. Whereas like we grew up having to go to the library, having to sit at grandma's feet, like asking questions. It's just, they don't need us anymore essentially for information because it just hits them even without them wanting it. So thank you for taking the time to incorporate them in these conversations.
Yeah, thank you.
So awesome. They would never know what a card catalog is. I
remember encyclopedias and writing references.
Exactly.
Hashtag bring it back. Bring encyclopedias back. And your kids got a report to do, don't let them use the internet.
With the L, the M, the N, the O on the table.
Listen.
It's good. It's the internet. You're making it too easy.
Look it up.
What's a card catalog? We gotta look at the books by the number. Yes.
Right. The Dewey Decimal System. Okay.
And the letters. You get confused. They missing a book. I can't find my book. Traumatized in the library trying to find a book. So that said, we talked about, how we help ourselves, how we help our children. Something I want to bring home because I've dealt with this with individuals, and I'm sure people looking at me in situations have dealt with, like, should I say something? Should I not? So I want to ask you all this because I don't have the answer. That's why we have the show. How do you all think that we help friends who are our age, say 30 plus, when we see them in a relationship that they have expressed, they told us that they are ready to go, or their constant complaining of how they are being treated in the relationship has let us know that it is over? And I know this is a very sensitive subject, and I have like a philosophy. For me, when it comes to relationships, I don't say nothing about people's relationships unless they ask me. I don't give advice unless it's solicited. Unless somebody put their hands on you, then I'm going to say, we need to go. But outside of that, unless somebody say, Shayna, what do you think? I'm not saying what I think. I could be sitting there watching you and your man have a full-blown Ike and Tina minus the hitting, because if he swing, we swinging. Minus that. I could be sitting there and I'm going to stare into the sunset because I'm not getting involved, because we know how they can go a lot of different ways. However, because we are changing the narrative, this generation is different. Seriously. If we see a situation, because this is a sensitive topic, if we see something with a friend, do you address it or do you not? Like, where do y'all stand on that?
For me,
Go ahead.
for me, it's like I go into like my fake therapy mode. I mean, because who am I to give advice? Okay. First of all, I'm like, trying to get my friend to come to the realization on their own. Like
the journey of self-discovery.
Ask the right questions to get you there. And, I appreciate if somebody did that to me as well. But, I'm usually like, I will come from the person with the complaints. I'm usually like, what do you think? And I really want to know if I value our friendship, I want to know what you think automatic. I'm just like, I don't really want to get into people's telling people. I've stopped doing that a long time ago, telling people what to do, because that we know how complex relationships are. Right. And you don't want to be that friend, like leave him and then you come around and he's around and you're like, this is awkward. And, so I really, try to ask the right questions just, for my friends to see. But mostly I'm like, when I am doing the complaining, I feel like I open that for my friends to give me their opinion on purpose. I'm not going to have a discussion with someone whose opinion I won't welcome,
I agree. I have certain, if I go to certain friends about certain stuff, like it's a safe space. Like, I'm telling you this because I want you to say something back. Like, it's just to listen. And
now tell me.
Tell me what you would do. Because my thing is, I bring it up because I've been in situations where, even up to my mama, after, a situation went left, well, I ain't never liked that nigga for you anyway. Like, damn, like,
how you really feel. Dang.
All 60 y'all sit there and hated him. Nobody was gonna say nothing.
I would say I did have a friend who we all were like, doing the church rock, like, That became proud, like every time they did not get it, and then finally this broke up with this guy, and we were all like, thank God, we hated him. We could not stand that man. He was a weirdo. Because in essence of not trying to tell people grown-ups what to do, you like, man, energy.
Right. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, grown people gonna do what grown people gonna do. I'm really big on just asking them, especially if they're complaining about the situation, I'm like, are you wanting me to listen, or are you wanting me to get you to a place of like being solution focused? Because if we're not putting any action behind this thing, then I'm just going to sit here and listen. Another thing too is just encouraging them to be mindful of the fact that what you share with me about this individual, it really does like warp the way I view this individual. And if you're my friend, I'm not going to be comfortable with enabling you to be in this relationship.
Right.
That is a detriment to you. So asking them what's the end goal, and then also like challenging them on the incongruencies. So I know when we talk about like dating and relationships, we all have like these goals that we want to pursue independently and as a couple. So I asked them, is what you're experiencing in alignment with your goals that you have independently and as a couple? And if there's some internal tension, I'm like, well, how are you going to work through that? Because it's going to get worse over time because you have like these set goals, but it's counter to what you're currently experiencing right now. So showing them how uncomfortable it is to have that internal tension, and hopefully they'll move on it. If they don't, then we just wade in the water, but I'm just letting them know. It's a little difficult.
Also, what you said earlier, somebody, I don't know if I read it, heard it, I digest so much information, but it said even when somebody brings, like, say a partner, and this is not related to this episode, but if a partner brings something to you, like an issue, to ask them, like, do you want me to listen? Like, are you telling me this to just listen like you're venting, or do you want me to give you feedback on what you're saying? And I think it's a great way to gauge things, because I know I've been in situations in partnership where, they tell me something, I'm like, rah, and they're like, well, I just want you to listen. Well, you ain't telling me that. So I was ready to attack. So I think what you gave was perfect. So I want to ask this. What do you all think it takes to like mentally prepare to leave a relationship? Because we know, I think people, especially women, we mentally leave before we physically leave. I know, like we in our mind, we already think about what date we gonna leave. We done got the new spot. We done packed our shit in our head on this day. And so yeah, like what would y'all say? Like, what's it like mentally to like pump yourself up to that point where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm about to go? Or do y'all have that mental talk? Or do y'all, let me ask this, have y'all been in that space where you left mentally before you left physically? Were you still there sitting next to this man and you was really gone?
Oh, yeah, I have. Yeah, I have. Having a whole conversation about the future that I talked about. Like, dang, we was going to take the kids. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, this is never going to happen. That's crazy. Damn.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so that's sad, right? But it's sad, but I have, you have to leave early in your mind just so you, but once you leave, I think for me personally, once I left mentally, it's easy to, and then you start filing everything that's happening after that. Like I started to file like, oh, look at him coming in late, file it, look at him. Look at him not cleaning up after himself. File it. Look at him. Like, I'm like, okay, this is making it real easy for me to leave. Yeah. And it's like, I'm starting like to build a case in my head. Like, yeah, it's time to go. And I'm leaving. Yeah. This is exactly why I'm leaving, And it's like, yeah, that's how it goes. It definitely happens in your mind first, the thought, and then the case is being built either against or for you as the man. And usually if you already have it in your head to leave, then the case is already, it's over.
Law and order sound.
Yeah, the gap. Yeah.
Sierra, what has your experience been like in that?
I think it's like relative to that whole trend with the red flags on Instagram. It's like the first red flag pops up and I'm like, can I deal with this one? The second one comes up and it's just like, and then when it's the third one, it's literally like laying in bed like, yeah, I don't think this is going to work. Yeah. And then, I try to have that conversation, and depending on how that conversation goes, whether it's well received or that person gets defensive or we can't come to a compromise or we decide to just be friends, it really just depends on that conversation. Because I'm very communicative in nature. I don't believe in ghosting. I don't believe in just falling off the face of the earth. I want to make sure that you know that I'm not happy in this particular relationship. And I want to like see how can we fix this. And if we can't come to an agreement, then it's just like, all right, well, let's part our ways. No need for us to stay in this situation. So,
yeah. So when you went through that, go ahead.
Oh, I've communicated before, and then, things have been like, okay, well, we can work on it. And then but I think the idea, the seed is already planted.
Yeah.
For me, that seed is planted. And it's just like, if I can see myself gone, then.
If I can see myself gone, then that means.
Yeah.
That's you better know it. So what would you all say, we go through these things, we figure out what it looks like, we mentally leave, and then we physically leave, and we go through the sad, bad parts of it, the grieving process. But how did you get to the point, like, when did you know that you were okay after you left?
I think for me, when I realized I was able to work through the emotions of the departure and whatnot, I think that's when I realized that I was okay. And also comparing the current Sierra versus like the old Sierra, because like the old Sierra used to like reread text messages or like replay sets of circumstances in my mind, trying to figure out, what ways could have been better or what shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Yeah. When I was able to be firm in my decision and be okay with moving forward, that's when I knew that I was okay, because I was confident in that decision to move forward instead of second guessing myself.
Perfect. Like that whole rereading text messages. You want to go back and read a text message and create a whole narrative in your head that like really did not exist. Like you holding on to something that was not there. But you, Mikey, when would you say like when you left a situation, you knew like, I'm good? Like what
I think honestly, when I leave, I'm good. Like if I decide that something is over for me, because I may or may not have a tendency to hold on too long. Mm-hmm. But once I am done, it's like, I'm fine because I've tried, I've put into this. And so this decision I'm coming to, and that's that. But yeah, during that period of time, agreed. I'm like, what could I have done better? When the seed is planted in my head to move on, I'm like, what could I have done better? What could this have been? Is it me? Is it him? Is it? And all of that happens. And I almost mourn the relationship while I'm already in it still, Once I leave, then that's when I'm good. I'm out, there's nothing you could say to keep me. Nothing.
It's a gift and a curse. I tell people all the time, I may stay past my welcome, but once I'm gone, I don't do it.
That's a fact. And that's why I try so hard when I'm in a relationship, because I know once it's a wrap, I don't even know you. Did we even date? What is your name? Don't say hi to my kids. They don't know you.
None of that. On social media, I had this dialogue that was so big. I was like, I don't love you. I don't hate you. Like, I just have nothing for you. And he couldn't grasp that when I was like, you just don't exist to me. Like, I'm not over here wishing you well. I'm not wishing you great either, but I'm wishing you nothing. Like we walked past each other, strangers. Never saw this. So sorry to this man. I never have seen you before. I never met you. So that's the seat that I sit in. So that leads me to ask this question before we get to the living single segment. A lot of times we spoke about earlier, women seem to think, or just people, say men and women, because it can go both ways. But I think in our experience for us, we tend to think like what we're going to lose if we leave the relationship. Have you all ever felt like you, quote unquote, lost anything when you left?
My mind.
Okay.
No, I'm just. No, when I left. You said when I left.
When
no.
You left, did you feel like were you like you didn't feel like, yeah, that was the wrong call? Y'all say this.
Being honest, I've only felt that way about one relationship.
Okay.
And you may know what I'm talking about, but I don't feel like I lost anything. I feel like it's like what I know now, I could have applied it in that relationship, but it's not a regret or anything, but I just feel like, you know, maybe I was a little too hasty.
Happens, but you know, like, you know, you lost anything, that's still a good thing to balance it that way. Sierra, have you ever felt like you lost anything in exiting?
I think there was only one relationship where I felt like I lost something, and it goes back to the losing of a friend, because this was like a personal confidant. So yeah, just that part, just losing a friend.
I will say that, yeah, I agree with that. This is like my only, you know, relationship that I was in that just, we were like tight best friends.
Y'all had some real friends, didn't it?
I'm on friends.
Price boys. I'm a friend of mine.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing though. Like even sometimes I hit this person for you know, advice, and we, you know, talk about you know, medical stuff. I have in the past, not recently, but yeah, like it's just like we had like every level of friendship covered, relationship, everything. So yeah, I will say I agree with Sierra on that.
But no, like whoever listening, y'all can get some more friends. So don't let the reason that y'all stay. So on that note, we are going to be right back with the Living Single segment.
This now brings us to the Living Single segment of the podcast. It's simply a segment where we want to send you good vibes, good energy, and give good advice on any questions that you may have about being single, dating, or relationships. Remember, nothing is off limits. So, welcome to the Living Single segment of the show, and let's get into it.
So welcome to the Living Single segment of the show. And you listeners know this is the segment of the show where we read a letter that has been sent in to us with the help that's been sent in to us to help with someone's dating and relationship situation. So you can write in today on our Instagram or the website, and we could be helping you with your situation next. So today's question is a hot topic from social media, and some of the topics on the show will be from letters written in, and some will just be from hot topics that we find on the media. So here we go. And so ladies, y'all have to answer what y'all think the person should do. He was in my bed on Friday. That Monday, he was at the courthouse marrying the woman he told me not to worry about. I forgave him. Now, I'm pregnant, but he's pulling away from me because he says his wife should have his firstborn. I want him and our baby. What should I do? This came from @6brownchicks Twitter page. So, y'all, what should she do?
How far along is she? I'm just living. It's crazy.
I think, you know, you say, I want him and our baby. Well, if you decide to have the baby, you probably just going to be left with the baby because he's not going to be the sick. He lied. You forgave him foolishly. Because my thing was, you know, if he got married and he lied to you and then you forgave him once you found out the truth, you kind of signed up to just like forever be the other woman. So right. What are your expectations? So what do y'all think? Go ahead.
I feel bad for her. Like, I think I will say as a mom, I'm just going to say this. I don't know about nothing else, but when you have a baby, when you choose to go into motherhood, that whether you're with a partner or not, you have to be ready to take, you know, to understand that baby is yours. Like, you know, yes, you share this child, but even when you have the baby, they're looking to you in the hospital day one to make all the decisions. They don't even look at the dad. They asking you, do you want this vitamin? Do you want this vitamin for the baby, or this shot, or, what do you want for this baby? And I think you have to understand that this is not something that is a tie to anybody. It's yours. And so if you want this baby, want it for yourself, and I don't know about this man's situation. I don't know.
I want to talk about the baby, sis. You want the baby for this man?
Girl, good luck.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, I'm not in the business of advice giving. I'm like, she really has to make a decision based upon what will work for her. Especially when it comes to like life in general, and how this could change her roles, right? So as Black women, we show up as like employers, employees, moms, sisters, daughters, whatever the case may be. And so she needs to have that relentlessly honest conversation with herself on what it would look like for her to operate in the role of being a mom and potentially a single mom. And if that, and how that can be impactful, not only mentally, but emotionally, spiritually, financially, occupationally. There's just so many things that she has to consider, with or without the partner.
It sounds like it's going to be without. And so with that, it's like, I think too, in motherhood, it teaches hopefully like she'll figure out that, this baby needs her more than any man does.
Yeah.
And so, you just realize like this becomes a new priority for you, and maybe she'll change her outlook on the whole situation. Who knows?
Guys, please, sis, that's all we got. You are focused on the baby. If y'all want y'all's letters, you know what? I'm gonna start requiring more for this. So for y'all sit in with context, but focus on you. You let that man. You forgave that man after you. I don't know what you forgave because he's still with his wife. Sis, DM me again so I can give you some extra advice. You heard what the lady said. You will be back. All right, so now this brings us to the resolution segment of the show. So I'm going to do a quick roundtable with you ladies to give your final thoughts on this topic at hand. So I just asked the question, what would you say the resolution is to understanding that you will ultimately be okay when you have to exit a relationship? And I'll go to you first, Sierra. What would you say?
I think it's learning to recognize how resilient you are, and that a relationship with another human being doesn't make or break you. And utilizing this time to strengthen your relationship with yourself. I know we talked a lot about like self-care being more than just the mani and petty and all the like physical attributes, but self-care looks like boundaries. Self-care looks like increasing mindfulness of your needs. Self-care looks like identifying your values and how they influence your decision-making skills. So taking time to realize that this was not your last relationship, and there's no such thing as the one. Just like that one individual was able to come into your life, there's another one that's going to come. What does the song say? The whole 15, like how buses come every 15 minutes. Yeah, so we just got to...
buses. 15, one coming.
Exactly. So treat it as such. It may take a little bit longer in between each person, but utilize that time as a friend instead of looking at time as the enemy. So I think that would be my resolution tip. Yeah.
I love that.
I've heard that multiple times lately, like there's no such thing as the one. I love that. As if I need any other thing to keep me.
It's a movie called The One. And before you give your answer, I'm just going to tell people because I'm into the movie. I post on page. It's one called The One on Netflix. And it's about, they have a DNA system that's supposed to connect based on your DNA, who is your like soulmate. And on the movie, You have people that, of course, they sent their stuff in. They were married and sent it in. Why, I don't know. But they found out who their soulmate was, and some people left. And you have another scenario. Of course, it's like different storytelling. One of them, this lady snuck and sent her husband stuff in and found out who the soulmate was. And the soulmate, because he said he didn't want to do it, because he's like, I'm married, I'm with my soulmate. He didn't want to do it. The wife went behind his back and did it and found out who the girl was, and then like went and befriended her. And they had like, she and the girl somehow ended up at like a surprise party and bumped into the husband, and then they like connected. But the husband chose to be with, he eventually went back like to the wife. But then the girl, like, I don't know if they're gonna do a season 2, because the girl that it happened to, she like stole a strand of the wife's hair so she could find out who hers was. And then there was another scenario of some lovers. But at the end of it, the crazy part was the two people who founded it, they ended up like admitting in the end that we had to sell it as that you only have one soulmate, but we know that you actually have more than one. So yeah, the movie, like they sold it as that, and that's why people believe it. But the data, it's like more than one person is connected to it.
There's billions of people on the planet. You think there's just one person meant for you? Like,
it's like,
amen. Okay, y'all really gassing me.
What is my final thought?
I would say, I tell myself this all the time. It's all temporary. Every like pain or a situation that you may be going through, it's all temporary. And God got me. That's really like my two anthems or mantras that I remind myself of. It's all temporary. God got me. That's it.
I love
that's all.
I want to add that, and this is kind of the wrap up. I'm gonna talk about this a lot more, and if y'all follow me on social media, y'all see that I truly believe in the law of assumption. If y'all never heard of that, look it up. But I found it at the end of 2021, and it was life changing. And so for y'all to say, like there's no the one, God does have us. Tapping into the law of assumption just tells you that the things that you assume, the things that you desire for your life, they will happen according to like God's plan. But you have to understand that, it's always, longer story short, because I can talk about the law of assumption all day, is that there's always a bigger plan in play. So when you try to go against the grain and like stay with a person that's like not your person and stay when the welcome is worn out, that's when you find yourself in these situations where it's just ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. Like the situation is over with. So ladies, give yourselves a round of applause for a great conversation. You did amazing. Your opinions are always valued and appreciated. I'm so grateful to have you all on the show. Season 4 has so many amazing topics that I know are going to elevate, enhance, and just blow people's minds with the tools, education, the knowledge, just the resources that people need to navigate in these relationship streets. So again, I thank you ladies so much for coming on the show. You're so valued. You're so appreciated. And on that note, we'll be right back with the Montana Minute.
And now this brings us to the Montana Minute. The first thing, there is no award given out for staying in a relationship longer than you are welcome. You know when it is time to leave, so take the steps to do it peacefully. The next thing, do not allow time to keep you in one place for longer than you desire or need to be. It is time you cannot get back, and it is time that you may regret losing. And the last thing, remember that leaving is not losing, but staying when you should leave is an absolute loss. So be sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and a rating, and I am signing off. Yours truly, Shanna Montana.